Hello my Wolfpack and welcome back to another episode of our Pokemon Competitive Guide videos, and today we are covering Iron Hands, which is a pretty cool Pokemon. Look at the fact that it's got base 154 in its HP, which means it has a huge HP stat, 140 in its attack stat, which again is gigantic, and then base 108 in its defense stat, which again, pretty cool, but its special attack obviously is lackluster, you're not going to use it. Special defense base 68, balancing out with that HP stat means it can definitely sponge up some special hits, but definitely you're going to want to look at this more on the physically defensive side, which actually, in the current meta, a lot of mons that are really popular are physical attackers, so this thing would be fantastic. Base speed of 50 is a little bit low. Could potentially be used in the Trick Room team, so things like doubles Trick Room could definitely be an option here, but it is very slow in comparison to a lot of our mons. Now, useful moves, there are tons and tons of useful moves here. The one that I didn't put on here was Belly Drum. Belly Drum's used quite often in Terror Raids, but Belly Drum can also be used. For some reason, Smogon puts this as a usually useless move, but actually, in the vast majority of Pokemon, it's a really fantastic move, so I don't understand that personally, but Belly Drum is an option. You've got Body Press, which takes your defense stats, so if you're setting up your defense, obviously that's going to be a really good option. It's boosted by Stab. Body Slam, which has the chance to paralyze, which you don't have Thunder Wave as Iron Hands, where the few electric types that doesn't have access to it. Brick Break, which can break screens. Obviously, screens can come up quite frequently. Close Combat, powerful Flying type attack, boosted by Stab. Drain Punch, get your health back. Earthquake, powerful ground type attack, hits a variety of different Pokemon for some amount of damage. Fake Out, which you can use on the turn that you come in to flinch the opposing Pokemon, so that's really good in doubles as well, but also in singles just to get some damage off straight away, especially if you want to break things like Sashes. Fire Punch and Ice Punch for some nice coverage there as well. Iron Defense to be able to increase up your defense. Now, as I said, base 108 defense, pretty good. If you can increase that up, even with no investment, that would take it to over 500, meaning Body Press will do a ton of damage. Iron Head, which allows you to cover things like Fairy types, which you are weak to. You've got Play Rough, which again, more coverage for different Pokemon there as well. Rock Slide for the chance to flinch if you are in, for example, that Trick Room scenario. Swords Dance if you don't want to go for Belly Drum. Swords Dance allows you to increase up your attack, just not to the same extent. Thunder Punch, a powerful electric type stab move. And Wild Charge, it does give you recoil, but it's even more powerful than Thunder Punch, so really good option to run. In terms of Terror types, there are a few Terror types that you can run quite effectively here. Now, one Terror type I would recommend is the Grass type. Now, Grass typing does give you a few different weaknesses. It is one of the types that does have a lot of weaknesses, but it does help you cover all of your main weaknesses. So Ground, you resist the ground and you take neutral damage from Psychic and also Fairy. So that is really handy for you in terms of your weakness, but you do open up yourself to a Flying type weakness, so in case someone, is running like a flying ground type, so for example Landorus when it comes in, then that potentially would be problematic for you, although more likely go for the ground type attacks. You've then got the Steel type. Now, this does keep your ground type weakness, which is a bit of a problem, but it does allow you to hit Fairy types with super effective damage and resist the Psychic types as well, so it can work quite effectively, but you do need to be very cautious when it comes to things like the ground typing. And then I've also recommended Ice type as well. Ice type, again, covers your weakness in your ground typing, and a lot of the types that you are actually weak to, things like Rock type, that you are resisting, like Rock type, you have got obviously the Ice type weakness there, and you can normally hit them for super effective damage. So for example, the Rock type you can hit with a Fighting type move. And then you've got the neutral to the Psychic and the Fairy there. So I think all three of those Terror types are really good. The only one thing I would say is just keep an eye out if you go for the Steel type, because of the ground type weakness that is going to remain. And ground type is such a common move. So many Pokemon get Earthquake and Earth Power nowadays. Right, let's move on to our first set, which we have got a Choice Band Iron Hands now. This thing is, probably quite standard, honestly. You've got Quark Drive here as your ability. It's the only ability. Now, realistically, if you can get the electric terrain up, you are going to increase up your attack by 1.5 times, which takes you to probably, I don't know, like 900 if it stacks. Choice Band plus the Quark Drive, that should take you to over 900, which is actually really high. You've then got Close Combat, powerful Vice type attack boosted by Stab. Wild Charge, powerful electric tap boosted by stab, and allows you to do take recoil for that, so you might want to have a Wishmon in the back as well. Earthquake, powerful ground type attack, just covers a few more different Pokemon, things like electric types, things like fire types. You've then got Ice Punch for a bit more coverage there as well, particularly hitting the ground types for super effective damage. Now, obviously with the choice band, you are locked into a move, so do be very cautious. Obviously, if there is a ground type around, don't click Wild Charge because that's just a bit silly. EV-wise, you've got max HP and max attack with an Adamant Nature, so more attack, less special attack, and 4 EVs and special defense. If you're running a Trick Room team, you definitely could run the Brave Nature and zero out the speed stat, but that is entirely up to you how you're deciding to run it in your team. Obviously, Terra types, you can run the Fighting or the Electric Terra type or any of the Terra types that I've recommended as an option. You can even run a Ground Terra type to get the Earthquake power increased. But yeah, this thing would really work with things like Pink Urchin, which allows you to activate the Quark Drive because of the electric terrain, or if you have any other methods of setting up electric terrain, so a Pokemon that is even running electric terrain. I think Iron Hands potentially even gets electric terrain as a move as well, but I wouldn't recommend it because you're going to take so much damage and it probably wouldn't be worthwhile in the long term. Moving on to the second Iron Hands, I've gone for the Belly Drum, Citrus Berry. You can go for Belly Drum, Shell Bell, you can go for Belly Drum, Leftovers. Lots of different options for you to run here, but Belly Drum allows you to max out your attack. So you go to times 4, which means you have an attack stat of over 1,600. I think it's 1,664, which obviously is very, very, very high. Just be aware, obviously, that you do lose 50% of your health. So you are going to lose a lot of health. You do need to be very cautious because most ones outspeed you, and you're then going to have to take damage. So that's why I run the Citrus Berry on it to allow you to get 25% back. So hopefully you're not going to have the issue. But if you can do this on a Switch, that actually makes things a lot easier. Definitely recommend running the Drain Punch alongside it. Drain Punch allows you to get your health back, and obviously with that high attack stat, even a Pokemon that resists realistically is going to take a lot of damage, and you are going to be able to get a lot of health back, so you just need to be cautious of things that might one-hit KO you. Thunder Punch as an alternative electric type attack boosted by stab, and then I've put Rock Slide on here. I just thought that Rock Slide is quite a nice rock type attack, covers a few different typings, but you definitely could put the ice type on here to cover your weakness with regards to ground types, or things like Iron Head to cover your weakness when it comes to fairy typing as well. EV-wise, max HP, max attack with an Adamant Nature, some more attack, less special attack, and 4 EVs and special defense. Same as before, and typically that's the way that you're probably going to run Iron Hands in like 90% of scenarios. Moving on to the next one, I have gone for the Swords Dance set with a Scarlet Berry. The idea here is that you set up a Swords Dance and live that hit, then you can endure, which will allow you to go down to 1 HP, survive on that, and you can have the Scarlet Berry to increase up your speed. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean you're going to outspeed many other Pokemon, but if you run this with things like Sticky Webs, slowing down your opponent's Pokemon, then, or Tailwind, if it's in doubles, then you definitely can get the opportunity to really start to outspeed things and hit them for lots of damage. Now, ideally, you might be able to get 2 Swords Dances set up, which would be really fantastic, but 1 would kind of be the bare minimum here. I've put Close Combat on here. You could definitely put Drain Punch on here instead to allow you to recover as much health as possible, because obviously once you've got that Scarlet Berry activated, it doesn't matter if your health goes back to up to whatever. So Drain Punch definitely is a really good alternative option to Close Combat. And I've also put Heavy Slam on here, but you can put Iron Head, you can put Thunder Punch, you could put any of those moves that I've really recommended on there to work with this. But I just thought the idea of a Swords Dance Endure Scarlet Berry set would be quite interesting, quite quirky, and something that maybe one of you might want to give a try. As I say, Drain Punch is a really good alternative to use to Close Combat as well. EV wise, I've gone for max attack and max speed, but I've gone for a Jolly Nature, so as much speed as humanly possible, or Pokemonly possible I should say, and then 4 EVs in special defense. So basically you're trying to be as fast as possible. If you get the +1 in your speed, that takes you to about 327, which means that you are outspeeding the vast majority of Pokemon, assuming they're not Scarfed, but there obviously will be a lot of Pokemon that can outspeed you. Any of the kind of new Pokemon like Iron Bundles, Fluttermane, stuff like that can definitely still outspeed you. Moving on to the 4th set, we have got an Iron Defense Body Press set. So realistically, Iron Defense allows you to be able to get to +2 in your defense, and Body Press allows you to be causing more damage on those Pokemon. Now, there are multiple ways you can run the EVs here. Typically, you can run a max HP, max attack if you want to go for kind of the Drain Punch and Fire Punch aspect, or Drain Punch, Ice Punch aspect. But if you're focusing more on the Iron Defense Body Press, you just want it to be purely defensive, then you can definitely go for the max HP, max defense, and allow yourself to start setting up those Iron Defenses to really start to destroy on that Body Press. I would definitely recommend you try and get rid of any Pokemon that are special attackers before bringing this out, because once you've got that set up, realistically you're not going to have many issues if it's just physical sweepers left or physical Pokemon left. So yeah, you can run it different ways. Iron Defense Body Press is a really nice combination because it obviously increases up your defense stat and allows you to actually hit really hard with a move. Drain Punch is there to get some reliable recovery. Leftovers, also passive recovery at the end of the turn. And then Fire Punch is there just for a coverage move, but you could put any kind of coverage move there if you wanted. But that was just an idea. When it comes to kind of the defensive aspect, you can run it as max attack, max HP, or max HP, max defense. Depends on what you personally would like to do, what you are looking for, and what kind of niche it needs to fill within your team. The final set I've got is a double set. Now, on here I've got the Life Orb, but you can run a variety of different things. You could run any of the resistant berries, like I think Potato Berry is the psychic one. You've got the Roselia Berry for the Ghost one, Shucker Berry for Ghost. I think those are the three right ones. And move-wise, we have got Fake Out. Now, Fake Out allows us to be able to flinch the Pokemon and do a little bit of damage. Now, in doubles, flinch your Pokemon is actually really handy. You'll see a lot of Fake Out mons are really common in the game just because of how fantastic they are at nullifying a combination in some cases. I've put Whirlwind on here. Now, this is an interesting one. It's not a very commonly used move in doubles, but Whirlwind allows you to force out the opponent's Pokemon, especially if they're trying to set things up. You can then force them out and they might have to switch around and kind of do some antics. But the Whirlwind obviously is minus priority, but bear in mind the fact that you are very slow, so realistically, unless you're running Trick Room, then you've got nothing to lose. Drain Punch to get some recovery, because it's Drain Punch and recovery is really useful. And then Rock Slide, especially if you are running a 0 speed, minus speed, so Brave Nature, Trick Room scenario. So if you've got a Pokemon next to you that runs Trick Room, I don't know, NDD for example, I think that runs Trick Room. Use the Rock Slide, you have the chance to get the flinch, 30% chance on both the Pokemon to get them flinched, and if they do, obviously you have got the advantage there. Obviously, some people do consider that a bit scummy, but at the same time, it's a tactic in the game, so why not use it? So that's just my idea when it comes to Iron Hands. You can run this as max HP, max attack. You can run this as a Brave Nature, as I said. You can run this as max defense. You can run this with special defense, definitely. But yeah, these are lots of different ideas. There are a few other ways that you can definitely run Iron Hands. So you have things like the Booster Energy, which will allow you to activate your Quark Drive, essentially giving you a free choice band if you're not planning on activating the Quark Energy anyway that you already can activate it. You've also got things like Assault Vest, so if you go for like the Choice Band set at the beginning, you can definitely chuck the Assault Vest on there instead of the Choice Band, and that would allow you to be a little bit more tanky to be able to live a few more hits. In that case, you might want to go for max HP, max special defense, to allow for you to be able to run that kind of more defensive, tanky set, which gradually will start breaking down. And if you even run some Drain Punch on there, you can get reliable recovery, which is really fantastic. But that's going to be all for today. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, please do like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know what your sets are down in the comment section below. Anyways, I'm going to finish this off, so hope you have a good one, and I'll see you soon.